मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं। आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं। भूल जाए जो रास्ता थोड़ा वापस आना दौड़ा दौड़ा। गलियां लेके बैठी हैं तेरी याद था जिसको तूने छोड़ा। यादें भूल सकता लेकिन खुशबू भूल न पाएगा। घूम घुमा के बन के बादल लौट तू वापस आएगा। चैन मिलेगा वही जहां तू रुक थोड़ा सा पाएगा। घर आने से डर जाने को बना नहीं।
Yeah, I'm Arnab Chatterjee. I'm the general manager for this lovely hotel, Taj Bengal. And good to have you for one more session of the Authors Afternoon. It's very close to us because the Authors Afternoon started here. It's traveled to so many. How many states, cities are we doing now?
50.
Wow, very good. This very place it has been always cherished, and we have so many lovers of books, talks, conversations, which has all happened here. Great to have you all here on a slightly rainy afternoon, and I get the winter is finally setting into Calcutta. Uh, we are we are so privileged to have Prabha Khaitan Foundation as our partner, and we have always tried to strive more and more conversations and many more we are doing together. So a special thanks to Anindita and Prabha Khaitan Foundation and Mr. Victoria. Media partner today is my Kolkata. Now, my privilege to introduce our wonderful author tonight. That's Preeti Shenoy. She has authored more than 15 bestsellers, ranked highest selling authors in India. She has represented India at several international literature festivals. Her exceptional achievements and contributions to literature have been recognized by celebrated across the world. With simplicity and as her hallmark, the books tackle serious issues such as mental health, gender inequality, socioeconomic class divide, relationship dynamics, challenges, etc. So I'm sure she's going to. But when we have you here, along with her, we have Ms. Swati Gautam. She's the founder CEO for India's only brand with undergarments for women. She's also a lecturer, a regular contributor to newspaper, broadcast, tabloids. She has authored and produced a profitable book, which is for lesbian communities. So happy to know that, ma'am. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again, not just to an author's afternoon, but to the joyous city of joy. And one of the most quaint views that you can ever have are from these windows. So here we have someone with 15 bestsellers to her count. While doing a master's in broadcast journalism in England, we were clearly told what questions not to ask. So you don't walk up to a victim of an accident and say, "How do you feel?" I mean, how do you think can that person feel? Neither do you ask an author who already has 15 and looks like has 50 more in her to say, how do you feel about it? Obviously, she's going to be delighted. But let me quickly dive into it, Preeti. Were you ever aiming to be India's answer to Mills?
First of all, I'm not at all India's answer to Mills and Moon. And highly object to that terminology. And it's 16 bestsellers, incidentally, because this book just came out and it went into a reprint even before it was out. So it's actually 16. So the thing is, my books are not just romance. Okay, it's really not romance. If anyone has read my books, you would know that it's more a slice of life. Each of my books I tackle a different theme. For example, in this latest book, I tackle the theme of how to cope with the post-pandemic life. Because all of us, the pandemic has changed all of us, and we all feel very different from what we were feeling before the pandemic. We are two completely different individuals, much like the protagonists in my book. Another of my book talks about how we sideline the aged in our society. No one listens to them, but they have stories to tell. So, in one of my books, the protagonist is an 80. So to call that a romance book would be, or to call it Mills and Boon would be highly, it won't be doing justice to my work to call it Mills and Boon. And yet another book talks about the class divide. So suppose we do have class divide in India. It's a socio-economic divide, caste divide. So it talks about how it's a maid's daughter and she spent all her life in an 8 by 10 room. And the lady of the house sends the maid's daughter to the same school as her daughter. So this girl learns to speak English, she wears good clothes. So then will you consider her equal? And she hides her past because everyone in her class is rich and she is poor. So it hides. So what happens to that? My books talk about such issues. There would, of course, be romance, but to call it romance would not be I wouldn't agree that my books are just romance because we tend to write off romance as just like, oh, it's milk. My books are not that way. Another book talks about bipolar disorder. Another book talks about finding your purpose. And, it's called The Secret Wish List. And can you make your wishes come true just by making a wish list? So it's just different themes.
Right. Now, let me clarify. This was meant to me as the highest compliment possible. When we were growing up, the one thing that you were disallowed and the one thing you would absolutely go out and read was Mills and Boon. They were right there in our bags and they were the things that girls looked forward to. So Calcutta by no means meant to at all, disregard your writing.
Yeah.
No, we think also because in terms of popularity, you were huge in terms of numbers. So were they. I don't know if you know this, Preeti, but on the sidewalks of Calcutta, 3 decades back, 4 decades back, there used to be these little kiosks which sold fifth-hand Mills and Boons, okay? And we'd rent them for 50 paisa a day. So this is like you've come into a land which is so okay. So now, yes, you now that you mentioned that particular story where the maid's daughter grows up, what happens is that the secrets of her past come back to haunt her, right?
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of suspense in your books, right?
Yes.
Like, so relationships and suspense. These are the two things that are quite primary, and that's how you probably hook the reader, right? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationships for us to be able to understand where the entire gamut, the spectrum of relationships that you are continuing to treat in your books.
Okay, so before that, since you're talking about Mills and Boon, when I was 16, okay, when I was 15, my dad was a very progressive man and I grew up with books. So my father had a transferable job. So every place we went to, the books would move and we would move and my father would first go and take a membership in a library. So when I was 14 or 15, he got me 2 Mills and Boons. Okay, this was in conservative Chennai. Because at that time, my 10th standard was from Chennai. And he gave me these 2 books and I read it and I hated them. Okay. I found it horrible. So my father said, don't you like it? Because everyone is reading this. I said, no, I hate it. I don't want it. And my favorite books at that time was Perry Mason, James Hadley Chase. So I used to love all of that. And Sidney Sheldon. So I guess to answer your question, probably relationships, maybe I view through that gamut because she said suspense and James Hadley says, you know how it is. You can't stop reading. The writing is so precise. The writing is so crisp. So how do I view relationships? I feel it is, we tend to simplify things, okay, especially Bollywood. Most of us have grown up with Bollywood diets. We've grown up watching Chitrahar and all of that. They just simplify it. It's romance. The boy meets girl, boy chases girl, finally the girl falls in love. And smooth sailing, and sometimes there will be a triangle, love triangle. She might be attracted to someone else. But I feel relationships are so complex and they're at the core of everything we do. Because everything we achieve in life, if we do not have a strong relationship, I feel it becomes meaningless. Because at the end of it, we are social creatures. We need people, and for me, it's not just romantic relationships. It's also friendships. It's also family. In all my books, the family is very strong. So those are the values that I believe in. Those are the values I try to portray in my books. So that's where I stand in terms of relationships. Always gray. It's never black or white. It's always gray. Yeah, people don't acknowledge it because it's taboo to say if you're married or you're attracted to somebody else. Like people don't talk about it, but I love these in my books.
Preeti, tell us something about yourself. Let's know who the person is behind this best-selling author.
I am an artist. Everywhere I go, I sketch live. I have got my sketchbook to show you guys to, what I love doing. Yeah. So anywhere I go, I sit live and I sketch it. So those are some of my sketches. So I actually sat there and I sketched live. So that's something that I love to do, and I collect little memorabilia because and I stick it because then it becomes meaningful. So, and one time, this year I've traveled a lot. In March, this time I was in Switzerland, and I was sitting and sketching in Zurich, and there was this grandmother and her girl who walked by, and I didn't understand their language. They didn't understand their language. They came and said something, probably in Swiss German. They said something, and then I just nodded and said this action she made, and she said it. So I feel art is something which transcends boundaries. And then I went to Sanchi this year. So I was at Bhopal, and there was a small tea stall there. So the name of that person was Hari Babu. So I sat in front of his tea stall. I sketched his tea stall. I took his WhatsApp number. I sent him with the sketch. He was so happy. And months later, about 8 months later, my mother visited. And I told my mom, I said, go there. It's Hari Babu's tea stall. Just go and have chai there. Chai and Maggie I had. Simple joys in life. And he immediately took out and he said, I remember your daughter. She sat here. She sketched. Yeah, it was very sweet. So I feel art is something that cuts across language. I'm an artist, and then I'm a huge fitness freak. So I discovered the gym 2 years back, huge gym girl. And what else? I blog. I have 2 grown-up children. I have a son and a daughter. I used to have a dog. I used to be a huge dog lover. And the day my dog died, 10 years my dog was with me. So every book that I wrote, she's like my baby, She was my armrest. She'll be on the bed with me. And she had cancer. She passed away. It was like devastating. But the day she died, it was insane. A pregnant cat came home. So I really felt my dog had kind of sent her. And I was not at all a cat person. But past 2 years, I've become a cat person. Because this dog, it was just unexplainable. And I don't know anything about cats, okay? And the first time the cat jumped up on the cupboard, I screamed. I didn't know cats can climb. It was because I knew only about dogs. Yes, because you're so used to dog. And the dog listens to you, the dog will lie next to you. Yes.
Canines and felines, 2 ends of the spectrum.
2 ends. So it was a huge learning curve. And I feel I spend a lot of time in huge animal lover, absolutely love animals. I meditate a lot. I do yoga. I can do the headstand. So these are the things which I learned at the age of 45. And I'm going to be 52 in December. So, an old dog can learn new tricks. Totally. So yeah, that's about me. That's the person behind the books.
And from one service class girl to another.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if did you go to Central School by
Yes,
Central School people, right?
Yes.
So
Throughout.
how did I can think of, because I am into undergarments. I know the kind of parental pressure that comes by if you want to make bras after being a good student. Similarly, what kind of pressures did you face when you wanted to be a writer and not just have a career in the industry?
I didn't
Challenges on your way
No,
as a writer. How
Yeah.
did it come by? How did it finally happen? Your first book. What led you to it? Just a little bit of that journey, please.
Yeah. So I have always written. Ever since I was a child, I have written. My first book, and it was 5 pages long. And Uh, 6 pages long it was. Four pages where all this, whatever I was reading at that time, Treasure Island and Robert Louis Stevenson, all of that combined with maybe Famous Five, and I did my own story. And 2 pages were illustrations because I couldn't write beyond 4 pages. Because then how are these people writing so many pages? Now I've written 16 books, I know. So I always wrote, but I never thought I would become an author or I would have this successful career. So I used to win prizes in school and college. Whenever there was a writing contest or a short story contest, I would take part in KV. You know how it was. That time there were stallions, if you remember. I don't know if it was in Calcutta. I grew up in the South. So I used to win prizes there, but never thought of it as a career, honestly. And then I got married and I had my children. And then writing, I would write every single. I'm a huge journal person. So I would every day write in my journal. I would, whatever happened, I would write. And then one of my things got published in one of my children's school magazine. And my father, actually, the turning point came when I lost my father. I was very close to my father. Every day I would speak to my father. And he passed away in the middle of a conversation with my mother. He was just 66. Okay, he was supposed to visit me a week later. We were living in Pune at that time. And he was just gone. And he was so healthy. He had no age-related ailments. That morning, he's walked 5 kilometers. Next day, he had meetings lined up. I was devastated. I could not even believe something like that can happen. My husband was traveling at that time. My children were tiny. My son was about 7, and my daughter was 3 years younger, or maybe my son was 8 probably. And in fact, a taxi driver, I'll never forget his kindness. The two sleeping children into the car, and I took a taxi from Pune to Mumbai. I was devastated. I could not speak. Like if you saw me then, you would not recognize me because I just couldn't speak. I was
Unexpected to the hilt.
unexpected, shook me, and then it was like a huge eye opener that today we are sitting in front of each other. Tomorrow we may not be around. Forget tomorrow. Next hour you don't know what's going to happen. That was a huge shock. I never thought something like that could happen because I thought like, okay, parents, they'll grow old and they'll be there. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to cope with the grief. And I had 2 young children, so I had to send them to school. So I had to put on a smiling face and send them to school. But I was shattered. So then at that time, I was just going through this economic times. And that time, blog was coming, something called blog. I didn't even know what blogging was. Okay, that was coming. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a blog. So I started a blog, and this was in 2006 October. So you guys can go and see it. That first post I made, it's full of typos and errors. I didn't change it because I said, that's who I was at that point in time. So I started a blog. Every day I would blog. Nobody was reading that blog. And never mind, I said, because I'm writing for myself. And I said, every single day I will find one thing to focus on, positive. I want something because I was drowning. So it's like a drowning man will clutch at a straw. So I said one positive. If somebody has made a cup of tea for me, that's something positive. If I've seen a rainbow, that's something positive. So every day I was writing something positive. And without knowing, I was gathering an audience because people were waiting for those posts. So they were feeling down too, and they said my posts gave them a lot of hope. I was writing primarily for myself. And then my blog started growing. Okay, I started letters. I remember one day, there was someone from UK who read my blog and he left a comment. I was so excited. I came down the stairs and I told my husband, I said, someone from UK has read my blog. He was an artist. We later became good friends. When I moved to the UK, I met him and our children became friends. And so that was like a turning point. And in January that year, one of the posts which I wrote got picked up by a radio show host in the US. And that it won the Perfect Post Award. There were these online awards which were given. And that post was about my father. So it was like a huge, I can't even begin to explain what that meant to me at that time. And the gradual progression of all of that was then I said, I want to write. I know that I'm capable of writing. I had got some validation because I won prizes earlier. So I said, I want to start writing. My greatest desire, if you ask me at that time, was to see my name in print. Okay, I should write something, print it, and I should see my name there.
The byline.
Yes, the byline. So now, how do I achieve this? So there, I was living in Pune at that time, as I mentioned. So there was this, there were these kirana stores, and there was this free newspapers which would be given. So I went and in all these, it was free. You could take it, just the neighborhood news. So I went and took it. I found out the name of the editor, and I called him up and I said, I want to write for your paper. So I said, I have won prizes. I have won a blog post. I'm a blogger. So he said, yeah, no problem. And he gave me my first assignment. He said, write 500 words on calendar. Okay. What do you do? Yeah, on calendar. Calendar, you look at the dates. That's it. What more can you write? So by
Was he testing you?
no, it was a genuine
He wanted
assignment.
to publish an article on a
On
calendar.
calendar.
Ah, great.
Calendar. So I said, okay, what do I write now? I had already said I want to write now. There's no backing out. So I said, okay, calendar, I'm not sure. He said, no problem. You come with me. I'll take you around and you can interview the people and write. I said, I don't know what this guy is up to. So I packed some chili powder, pepper spray, and there was no pepper spray at that time. So I packed some chili powder, went with him, and I didn't know what to ask honestly. So I just asked whatever I thought a journalist would ask. I asked. Came home, I wrote the article, it got published. I got paid for it. So that was like a huge turning point. I said, wow, I'm actually writing, someone is paying me for it. Wrote many articles for that paper. But I'm ambitious. If nothing, I'm ambitious to a fault. So I said, okay, now I want something bigger. So I took those articles and I went to Times of India, walked into Pune Times of India's office, met the editor. I said, I write for this. These are the things I have written. I want to write for your paper. He said, absolutely no problem. You pitch me your ideas. So I pitched him the ideas, and Pune had a lot of ideas. They used to have a board which said, foreigners not allowed. So, and then they had these pocket bikes. This is actually a bike which you can fold and carry. Imagine. So I had very interesting ideas. So started writing for Times of India. And then I pitched to Reader's Digest. I pitched to so many magazines were there. So I started writing for all those magazines. And then there was this Chicken Soup for the Soul, which was coming out. So I wrote for Chicken Soup for the Soul. And around that time, my poetry got published. So gradually, I was building a portfolio. And that's how I forayed into writing. That was my first book.
So how long since calendar, how long did it take for the first book to be published?
The first book was published about 15 years back. Calendar would have been 2 years before that. So it's 2 years, yeah.
Fantastic, beautiful journey. Preeti, you're not just a best-selling author. You're also a brand in yourself by now. And under your hat. Today, as you sit here in the chambers with all of us as witness, what do you think, in your opinion, is greater and more powerful, you, the brand, or your writing?
100% my writing. There's no doubt in my mind it's my writing, because every day I get messages from people which tell me how writing has changed their life. Like, I would like to read out a tiny message, tiny message which I got, which I get many like this, but this particular one moved me. So let me just see if I can find it. So what happened is I got a message from a state level cricket player. I'll just show you her photograph too in a minute. Yeah, this is the girl who wrote to me, okay? This is the girl who wrote to me. And see, this is her playing. Okay, this is her playing the match. And I'm reading out her message at him. She says, hi ma'am, I'm Sayuja, Kerala cricket player. I'm playing for Kerala team for 6 years. I missed my last season because of an injury. And I recovered within 4 months, but the season was almost gone. And I was waiting for the season to roll. The season started pretty well. My fitness level, my runs, everything was fine. I got selected to play against Himachal and Punjab. But my bad luck, I got injured again and faced surgery. I was going through my worst phase of my life when I got your book, The Magic Mindset. I loved the positivity you're spreading through the book. I felt very much better after reading some pages. I'm a very lazy girl to read, but I completed your book without losing any interest. Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful book. This helped my mindset to change in my worst situation. So like this, I get
Very fulfilling.
so
Very,
fulfilling.
very
Yeah, absolutely. So like this, I get so many messages. I get messages from people who tell me my book on mental health disorder, it helped. So that, for me, that's something like fantastic. It's beyond my wildest dreams. And I know what it feels like because I was in that place at one point. So through my writing, if people are getting messages, they're getting hope, they are finding a new direction. For me, definitely that's what matters so much, a lot.
True,
So
true. I mean, it is literally validating the rise on the author of your writing. I mean,
yeah,
you're writing for a reason, and the reason is the number of people you're able to positively touch and impact. So not just through your own life, but also through these 16 books, there has been so much of exposure to life in general and to the um, positively chaotic, because I still don't believe we are living in negative chaos or we're any worse off than we were 1,000 years back. Perhaps, in my opinion, we're better off. So, through these chaotic and times that are in flux that we are living in, Preeti, are the fault lines of the relationships that we are in. There's so much of heartbreak, there's so much of heartburn, there's so much of the relationships are being divided into two groups of people, he or she who continue to tolerate and he or she who do not tolerate. So where do you think, do you have any idea, where do you think are the fault lines in our relationship?
in addition to he or she, we now have they, them to make it. So there was not confusion enough. We also have they, them, which we have to remember. And honestly, I think it's human nature. If you look at the young people today, or even if you look at us, see, in our times, if you had to have an extramarital affair, okay, it was very hard because that one phone landline will be there in the hall, so everybody will come to know. So it's very hard. You can't just come and talk to anyone and meet. And but now it's not like that. You can sit in India and have an affair with someone so wish to, or Australia, or wherever you choose, because technology has made everything easier. And technology has also given us choice. Okay, so the young today don't have to settle. So for us, maybe, because we grew up without the internet. So for us, some Masi will bring some Rishta, and there'll be like 3, 4 people. Out of that, you choose the best. But today you go on Bharat matrimony, there's some elite matrimony, there's so many things. Or there is no matrimony but relationships. There are so many things, or no relationship.
Endless choice.
Exactly. So then, of course, we are humans. So of course we are going to, at the end of the day, we are monkeys. That's what we are. So, if you give the monkey a choice of lots of bananas, the monkey will probably eat all those bananas.
Or maybe not eat all of them.
Yeah.
Eat some, throw some, bite into some, throw some. Not make a meal out of any one banana. Simply make a mess of all the bananas. Getting there or what?
No, I think it depends on the individuals. Honestly, it depends on the individuals because ultimately, then you make a decision as to what is valuable to you. For me, like I'm very clear, my family is super valuable for me. My daughter, in fact, works in London. Every single day, we talk on the phone, very close to my daughter. And my son will soon shift to Singapore with my husband. As soon as I finish the session, I'll call him, baby, this happened, that happened. For me, it's very important to connect no matter where I am. So it depends on what you value. And I feel if you value something, give it attention. Give it attention. What you focus on grows. I'm a huge believer in that. So if you are going to focus on the things going wrong, if you're going to focus on multiple bananas, then you're going to like end up with a messy meal or dirty hands or so I feel you decide what to focus
And
on.
runny digestion.
Absolutely. Runny digestion. So yeah, I feel it's important for us to make a decision, for us to make a choice, to define what are the values that we are going to hold on to in a chaotic world, and how tightly are we going to hold on to those values. And we have to make a commitment to what matters to us, and that's I feel the only way to survive in an ever-changing world.
Um, Now to come to the key aspect of it all, what about love? Um, in its myriad, unending forms, uh, where do you think, how do you think it's manifesting itself today? So to rephrase it, from the times when we were young to where we are today, and as we are observing the future, What chance does love have in our lives?
Depends on how much chance do you want it to have. So how important is it to you? And I feel it has 100% chance, but you have to give it that 100%. If you want, if you want, I feel everybody's definition of love is different. Everybody's love language is different. What I consider love, you may not consider love. Someone else may not consider love. So I feel it's important for a couple to understand each other's love language, like what is important. Then it becomes so much easier, it becomes sweeter, the relationship becomes nicer. And I do feel that the young people of today also fall in love. And just like we did, but except that today, if they break up, the whole world will come to know because immediately it's on Insta. Then the stalking happens because for us, if we broke up, we moved on. We don't have to see that guy, so it's easy. And if you tear up that little book in which we used to write the phone numbers, okay, your life. But today it's not like that, they'll make each other jealous. In fact, I address all those issues in my book because I feel social media has become a character. Apart from all the characters, social media is also a main character in our life. So I feel those are the things that we have to navigate around love.
Preeti, before I move on, so what is your definition of love, or what is your understanding of love? What, according to you, is love?
For me, it is being there for that person through thick and thin, and understanding them in the way that they want to be understood. Not in the way that you think are understanding, but in the way they want to be understood, in the way they want to be cherished, in the way they want to be loved. Remembering what is important to them, what is not important to them, what hurts them. If something hurts them, I would say if you truly love a person, you'll apologize and you won't make that mistake again. No one, and I do believe no one understanding of each other. Nobody has that. But I feel the commitment has to be there. And I feel the biggest test of love is time. That's what it is because every day we change. So are you able to change? Is that person able to change? And if you are able to change at the same pace and maintain a relationship, for me, that's love.
To come back to your books, there's this whole spectrum of issues that you've delved into and you will continue to delve into. When do these ideas come from? What is it that propels you to pick something up and not another?
So usually it's an igniting incident, and it's usually something that I feel very strongly about and which I can do nothing about. Okay, because I feel very, very strongly about it. For example, in that book which I told you, 100 Little Flames, which I said the octogenarian is the protagonist. So it so happened that I was distinctly remember where that idea came from. So I was going for a walk and I speak to my mother every single day ever since my dad passed. Every day, morning and evening, I'll call her. She lives alone because she wants to live alone. She's become very independent. She lives in a small village in Kerala. So she was talking to me and she was telling me about something that happens not only in Kerala, which I later found out that it happens in other states in India as well. So they take old people to the temples, okay, and they'll tell them, just wait here, we are going to pray, and they abandon them. They vanish.
Happens here too.
Yeah.
Happens all over India.
Yes, and then I understood why they do it. See, it sounds very cruel, okay? But these are usually like, it will be from families which are economically not very well off. And the old person would have dementia and you know how they change when they become older. Like I know old people who even like defecate in the living room and they say, now you clean it up. Because they just become do anything. So I mean it is very cruel still. It is still very cruel. That like affected me a lot. I said, okay, fine, let me think about these issues which the elderly face. So they have stories to tell and nobody listens to those stories. So, and I grew up, and Gopal Shankar, the protagonist of that book, I drew a lot from my own grandfather because I used to visit my ancestral home. Everything that I described in that book is taken from my own life and my own ancestral home. So I was the only grandchild allowed to access my grandfather's cupboard of books because I was a very meticulous child and I was like, one of those teacher's pet kind of a thing. I'll keep everything back. I was one of those good kids. So my grandfather would allow...
Still a good girl.
So my grandfather wouldn't allow any other grandchild. only I was around. So I would take and I accessed his diaries. So which was so amazing. Secretly, I read all his diaries. So not so good girl. So, and that, like, he had written when my mother had given birth to me. Okay, and that was like, it was something amazing. So I incorporated all that. So in that book, Ayan, who is the grandson, accesses his grandfather's diaries. And he comes to know of the grandfather's life. And the book goes on. I won't spoil. If you guys have not read 100 Little Flames, I won't spoil it. So for that book, the idea came from there. So like that, each book plan for life is what you make it. And that was my second book. And that was rejected more than 40 times, incidentally. Not only in India, I was the only author who went to UK and got rejected there also. And today that book has sold over 1 million copies. It's been translated into so many languages and billions of copies, changed so many lives. And that one, the idea came, I was living in UK at that time. So I went for this art exhibition. Okay, and the images that I saw there blew my mind. It was like, and I got to know that all the images were painted by bipolar artists. So I said, oh wow, this is something interesting. Then I started researching, and 2 years I researched. I traveled to India, I visited Nimhans. They took me around, they showed everything. I spoke to a psychiatric nurse in the UK. I spoke to so many people, and more than like some 3 lakh people are affected, but no one talks about it. And even today, that's a little taboo to talk about mental health issues, which I felt was very important. So idea for that book came from there. So like that, each book there would be some inciting idea.
I'm going to pick on what you said, that those keywords about 40 rejections.
Yeah.
So how did you handle that? What made you continue to send your manuscript to publishers?
Because I had no choice. I had put in, like I mentioned, I'm ambitious. So I had put in 2 years of my life. I said, how can my Ankita not see the light of the day? Let me tell you, it was devastating. Each time I got a rejection, it was like, oh my God, yet another rejection. And how did I cope? I guess meditation and the hope that it would get published. And it did. And I mean, 1 million is no joke to get a sale of 1 million. The book continues to top the charts. So you guys can search for Life is What You Make It. You will see what it's about. It's changed so many lives. And I had no choice but to go on. So, and I was glad that, Srishti was a small publisher.
I
And
was just about to ask, so who published it finally?
Srishti published it. And after that, every publisher came to me. They said, we don't know how we missed this manuscript. That I had sent it to you. So I
You
guess
believe in destiny.
100%.
And how much do you believe in it? I mean, 100% yes. But do you think you're here because of your destiny or your merit?
I would say it's of both. Because while you can say destiny, you can say, oh, I'm not destined to do anything, and you can sit at home. But if you say, like, no, I will do it. But even then, things have to align for me to be at this point, at this time. So it has to align. So things, because there are so many unexplainable things that happen. I am a tarot card reader too. And that was something very unexplainable which happened in my life, which made me a tarot card reader. So I believe that, like tarot, it should show you, it's not predictive like astrology, because astrology says that if Shani is there or if this planet is there, you can't do anything. You're doomed. This is going to happen. But tarot doesn't say that. Tarot just gives you a picture and says, it's like Google Maps. It'll show you what lies ahead. If you want, you can take that road. If you don't want, you can take another road. So I believe it's a combination of both. So you cannot say I'm just like, I'm here because of merit or I'm here because of destiny. You can just say like, I was destined to get the merit to be.
That's it. I was waiting for that line.
Yeah.
It's ultimately destiny because destiny gives you the merit to be here.
Yeah.
And to what you said about, I will sit here and I will not do anything. That's my destiny. It is your destiny. In fact, we're both sitting here.
Yeah.
It is how destiny ordained Anindita to put it together to get us here. It was ordained in us to make the effort for you to fly down from there and for me to drive down
Yes.
from here.
Absolutely.
So to go back to your first book, Preeti, how was it like sending your first manuscript? How did you choose who to send it to? How was the process? How scared was the ambitious person in you? How did you manage to nevertheless navigate your way through? Because if I'm not mistaken, the little that I've known you in the last half hour, you probably didn't know that there'd be 16 so soon. You were just working on the
It's not so
first
soon,
one.
16 years.
No, but 16 and 16 years is a huge thing. You see, people take a decade to write a book. See, generally, I mean, Arundhati Roy.
Because there's no more books in her.
No. I wouldn't go so far to say that. We don't know what lies around the bend. But it's just that what she wrote the first time remains something very special. So to come back to you, because the conversation about you, my dear, not about her, is that so how was it like the very first time?
So, like I said, my second book was what got rejected. The
Yeah,
first
I know. The
book,
first book, how did you choose to have it published? Did you choose a publisher?
No,
Did
it
you
was
go
just-
what came your way?
No, I just sent it to every person I could. Like, I just went and saw what, because at that time, my first book was non-fiction. It was creative non-fiction. There was no one in India who was writing in that genre at that time. And it was called 34 Bubblegums and Candies. Okay, that was later republished as Love a Little Stronger. So 34 Bubblegums and Candies, I said, anything that happens to us, we can keep on chewing, keep on thinking about it and spit it out because it's already happened. It's like a bubble gum. Or it's a candy, something to remember. So the book was full of touching incidents and it was also full of laughter. So there was touching incident, there was laughter. The first chapter in that book is about my father again. And so all true incidents, they were kind of adapted from my blog posts because by then I had become a very popular blogger. So that was my first book, and it was just that I sent it and I just accepted. Srishti again published it, and I went with Srishti.
So your
It's still
first
with
was Srishti,
Yes.
and the second, after 40 rounds, came back to Srishti. Oh, wonderful.
No, I had sent it to them, but it took that much time for them
to
get back because by then you get the rejection because it's not simple. Once you send it out, you wait.
Are
So-
you still with Srishti?
Yes.
So your relationship is strong with
Very, very strong. Very strong. See, I have never pulled out a book from any publisher because I don't believe in pulling out a book and, Westland shut down. So all those back titles, then Harper took over. But my new book, which has come out, is again with human relationships.
So what's down the line? What's coming next? And when is the next book happening?
Yeah, the next book will come. In fact, my agent is after me, but I'm sitting here doing events instead of being at home and writing. So, yeah, it will come out in 2024, will be a sequel to A Place Called Home. So, I'm working on that. So, that will be the next book. And people are already asking me sequel, the third one to this. This is actually it's not a sequel, but the same characters are there in When Love Came Calling. And that won the most popular fiction award in Author Awards Times of India. That won the most popular fiction award. This one seems to be very popular, and already people ask me when is the third one coming out. So
what is it that you aspire to be as an author? And what is it that you aspire to be in your life? And what more? What more do you want? What more do you think will come your way? What is it that will make you complete?
I already feel I'm living my dream life. And my children, touch wood, my children are grown up. And I sometimes think about it, if I were to drop dead today, would I have any regrets? And it's none whatsoever. I have truly lived my life. And I think not many people can say that. So forever I'm grateful. Every day I am grateful. I write in my journal as to how grateful I am to get whatever I have achieved. And it's not been easy. Like people just see the success. And one of the worst things which someone told me was, which I found very insensitive. Of course, that lady didn't mean it that way. Yeah, she just said, "Oh, for you what? You do thing and a book will come out." I said, "What nonsense is that? Thing and a book will come out." It's like one of the most absurd things. It's like hard work. It's hours and hours of writing when they went partying. So I remember this lady. Yeah.
Yes.
That lady went out with a bunch of her friends and they didn't invite me, and which was fine. So I went and told my husband. I did feel bad out. So I went and told my husband, I said, all of them have grown up because thanks to social media, I got to know. Then he said, what do you want? Do you want to write a book or do you want to go out with it? What do you want? This was when I was third book, okay? And I knew very well what I wanted. So I said, I said, yeah, let everything be. What I want is this, and I've got it. So I've achieved it. So absolutely no regrets. I'll be like,
Touch wood.
Yeah.
You don't, there's not a hair on you that can even remotely start spelling regret. But the point is, what more do you look forward to in life? 16 is a lot in 16 years. The only other author that I can think of who does one book a year is Pavan Verma. Okay, because I've been in he's the bureaucrat turned politician.
Okay.
Then he writes from Shankaracharya to the man straddles the spectrum. Okay, and he's also been with the External Affairs suave and a very Delhi person. So he's the other person is you. So what would you look forward to? Do you still have the same enthusiasm in writing your 17th as you did when it was the first? Where does it come from? What do you do? I mean, share with us the secret of the evergreen, ever bubbling energy.
What is the evergreen, ever bubbling energy? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's just that if I didn't write, see, I was writing when nobody was reading me. Remember that blog post which I told you about? Nobody was reading me. I was writing every day. So now I'm writing books. Now millions are reading me and I'm still writing every day. So what will I continue doing? I will continue writing because a writer is who I am. And making art, I would love to travel and, draw. So Anandita asked me, she said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go and sketch. What is there to sketch around here? And that's what gives me joy. And honestly, I think it's so important. Forget the success, forget the money, forget the wealth. I feel do something every day that gives you joy, that awakens you from within and says to yourself, here I am. This is what I'm doing. And I feel good doing this. So I feel it's so important for all of us to find that one thing that gives us joy and do it.
Correct. Preeti, there have been 16 of them. Now, I don't want you to please tell me that as a mother, I cannot say which child is favorite and which child is not. Tell us which one is the favorite or the second favorite.
Always it will be my latest one. Always, because I feel I better myself with each book. And I'll tell you why that is. Because, see, this book is set in three different, it's three voices.
This is the book she means.
Yes, the latest book. So it's Pooja, Arush and Sujit. And I had to get into the characters, three characters' heads. And Arush is from Burma, from UK. About him is his name. He's born and brought up there. He's a British citizen. He's never been to India. And that was in the first book. Pooja comes from an extremely wealthy family. Her father is a businessman. Her mother is a surgeon. Her sister has done, her mother is like one of those tiger moms, The girls have to study, the girls have to do everything. And her sister has got into IIM and is working in a bank. And Pooja fails all her classes. So that's Pooja. That was in the first book. In the second book, and then there's Sujit. In the first book, he was like a total villain. He was a druggie. He was dealing in drugs. In this book, I gave him a voice. So, and I had to straddle 2 time zones, 3 places, because the book is set in Birmingham, and it's set in Varkala, and it's set in Kochi. So it was really hard to write this book. So people tell me it's very smooth. Okay, people tell me, and that it took like 5 or 6 drafts to write this book. So I work very hard with my books. I feel my last book, which would be my favorite.
Preeti, I also tried to work a little hard with all your books. Now, all of them, if I'm not mistaken, that is, invariably have a character that starts with A. At least one of the, one or not all will start with an A. Yeah. Where does that come from?
That's what, so, initially it started without my realizing it. Then my son's name was Atul, okay, and my daughter's name is Purvi. So in this we have Arush and Pooja. So later I thought about it. Honestly, it was not deliberate. I just write the name which I feel will fit the character. Because for me, I do a lot of research before I name the character too. For example, if a person is born in the 1930s, he can't have a name like Tarush. That would be absurd. So he has to be Gopal Shankar, or it has to be some name which is...
No, it's true. You know what Elon Musk's daughter is called?
Yeah. So it's it has to be suited to that era. So I search, but these names, like, it just so happened. That was an observant thing. And so now I look for, if I meet anyone with the name a guy, okay, fine, maybe this can be one character in my book, because it has to be different names.
Correct. Preeti, the other thing I noticed with your books is all such beautiful covers.
Yeah.
But your first 2 books had the title of the book followed by your name. But the last 14 books have your name, which is much, much larger than the title of your book.
Yes.
So, what is more important, the title of your book or you in those huge fonts? And tell us the reason behind it, please.
First of all, I have nothing to do with it. It's my publisher's decision. So if the publisher feels my name sells more than the name of the book, then I think I deserve an applause for that. So yeah, I would like some applause, please. Thank you. Yeah, so I have nothing to do. It's not megalomaniac Preeti saying my name has to be bigger. Of course, I would do no such thing. It's completely the publisher's decision. And as regards the title of my book, so that I learned the hard way. So the first book, I was very naive, so I named it 34 Bubblegums and Candies, which I thought was a very nice title. Until in Delhi, they started saying the book became popular. Arey, wo bubblegum wali book dena. It became that. Then the second book, I thought, okay, it's a little more sophisticated. I named it Tea for Two and a Piece of Cake, okay, which I thought was a very nice title. Then, but the thing is, commercial success, okay? So then people started confusing. 2 cups of tea, 3 teas and 1 cake.
Chai wali book dena, tea wali book dena.
Yeah, no, they don't say that, but they say 3 teas, 2 cake. It's difficult. So I said it has to be something which people can remember. Like life is what you make it, people remember it. Secret wish list, people remember. The one you cannot have, people remember. So it's very important for me to have a name which is, the recall is there. And the cover for me is, my sell millions of copies. I get 7-figure advances. So for the cover has to be attractive. It has to be like a cover which will entice you to pick up the book. In a bookstore, there are so many covers. So many books are competing for the attention. So one of the special things I would like to say, when Love Came Calling, my daughter designed the cover. So that was a jar. Yes, it was very special. Yes, very special with fairy lights and all. And so this book, they wanted to continue that theme. So they took a jar so that there's some continuity in that. So I do work closely with the designer, but honestly, that this cover was decided by everyone in the team. They give me like 15, 16 options. Cover is so important if you want to sell a book. So, and then I tell them that I like this, and they convinced me, in fact, for pink, for this cover. Now everybody loves this cover, and I'm glad I said yes. Don't make these decisions, honestly.
Preeti, to broad base this discussion, there was a point of time when there were fewer books and much larger number of readers. And now there are just so many authors that perhaps our bookstores are oversaturated. I mean, it is becoming impossible to be able to keep up with the reading. Do you think it's a good thing that almost they're self-publishing now? Okay, self-publishing is all about, I am paying for what I've written, punctuation or not, typos or not, content or not. I have the wallet, so I better publish it and then send a book to everybody. Some of my greatest fears are, because coming from a service class family, books, anything falls on the ground, you do this even now. And then what do I do with so many books? I have 10 books and not readable. So do you think this, again, I'm not speaking specifically, but in a very larger way, that we went into where publishing became so much more easier? And there came about so many books in a bookstore where books started. And yes, books are also now being sold by the kilo. You think that's something for the good or not? What are your views on it, please?
See, as regards self-published books, unfortunately, most of them in India are badly written. Unfortunately, they are.
And that's why they're self-published.
Yeah, that's probably why they are self-published. Sometimes it could be that, the person's goal might be different. And some published books are also very badly written. Let me put that, because I'm an avid reader. So I don't think it's a bad thing for the economy. So when we are seeing it as book lovers, we should also look at the larger economy. So if somebody is self-publishing the book, then that printer is making money. The poor guy who distributes it on the cycle or the cycle rickshaw, whatever, he's making money. And whoever is buying that, so there is the also. I feel like to each his own. I wouldn't be a snob and say they shouldn't write books because they are bad books. I mean, I'm nobody to say that. That's their prerogative. If they want to write, let them write. But as a reader, I have a choice whether I want to pick up that book or whether I don't want to pick up that book. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing because, if somebody's ego is feeling satisfied by giving that money and saying that I'm an author. I saw an ad the other day. This person is actual ad and it keeps coming up because, my Instagram profile says author. Become a best-selling author in 15 days. Like, how in the world will you become a best-selling author?
But I'm sure there are people who fall for it because they're looking for to enroll people.
Yes. So as much as I can, I tell people, look, there's no shortcuts to
Anything in life,
yeah. This
let
will-
alone being a best-selling author.
Yes. But yeah, but people do it. So I feel we have to choose what we want because our time is so precious. The biggest gift you can give anyone is time. So you all have given me the gift of time. I'm honored. And when you're picking up a book, you're giving that author your time. So I feel be choosy about what you want to read. Even if the book has won whatever awards, the book might be one greatest. All the critics have said it's a great book. But don't feel compelled to read it unless it speaks to you. Because after all, those awards are what? They're the opinion of 5, 6, chosen people or whatever. It means nothing. But I feel if your book has touched someone's life and that person has found value, then that's great. So pick up books which you find value, which talk to you. Let it be any book. It can be a book written for children. It can be a poetry book. It can be a Hindi book. It can be a Bangla book, Malayalam book, any book. But if you find value in it, then that's the book for you. Is what I sincerely believe.
The most translated.
I think life is what you make it. It's been even translated to Turkish.
So how many languages, please?
I didn't keep a count, honestly. I don't keep a lot. Yeah, lots of
Including Indian languages?
Yes.
Oh,
A lot of Indian languages. Yes.
Wonderful. Yes, wonderful. Preeti, as we kind of move towards the end of this conversation, do you believe that there is someday going to be a book of illustrations? Do you think there'll be one? Is there anything else in you think that will pop out? I mean, I didn't know for one that you were an artist also, and such a strong artist at that you come into a city and want to have something to sketch.
Yeah.
Which is really, really very, very significant that we do not know about or that may just pop out.
So I discussed that with my publisher. Okay, now I'm a person because my books sell so much. So if I'm putting so much effort into illustration, and it probably will not sell as much as my novel. So I'm like, why should I do it? I'll just draw for myself and I'll put it on Instagram. Whoever wants to see it can see it. I'm very practical that way because if I'm not making money out of it, then I don't want to waste my time and get into it and bring out a book of illustration because I'm not vain that way. I'm okay. I have drawn. It's there. People can see it if they want to see it. So yeah, there's nothing really I would probably continue writing books because that gives me a lot of joy. I never thought I would write a self-help book. I wrote a self-help book, The Magic Mindset, which I told you the cricket player loved it and she got something out of it. And that came during the pandemic. Because I said I didn't know if I'm going to be alive or not. All of us were terrified. So many people. So I said, if I were to die, I want to leave my children with something. And I wrote that with all my heart. I said, whatever I have learned, whatever I believe in, whatever I have wisdom I have got from my ancestors, from my parents, I want to put that. And it became I told this to my editor at HarperCollins. She loved the idea. Then it came about in a structured way. So there's a magic mindset for relationships, magic mindset for health. So then I did a lot of research, Harvard experiments, what this aging, how we can beat aging. All of that is there in that book. So I never thought I would write that. So I never know what is going to come up next. So
we can see that you are indeed beating aging. So we believe that reading that book will be of great help to everyone here. Remember that particular book, in addition to, yes, all the love you deserve. Preeti, as we conclude, is there anything that you'd like that has been left unsaid?
Just you're an absolute delight to speak to and so nice. Thank you so much for being in conversation with me. It was fun and interesting. And more than anything, it's only you can speak. See, the thing is, how I answer also depends on the kinds of questions you ask. And it makes me think, and I honestly enjoyed this. And you guys have been such a sweet audience because anytime, like, I look, you guys were very encouraging. So thank you so much, and a big thanks to Anandita for organizing this so beautifully. It's a wonderful, I had a wonderful time, and I hope you all did too. It was really nice being here.
Now, you see, since I started the conversation, I reserved to myself, by myself, the right to end it. And I end it thus. May we be in conversation for your 27th book, right here someday.
I really,
Till
I
then,
would love.
all the very best.
Thank you
from
so much.
Khaitan.
What Swati said, that the books are being sold in kilos since there are so many self-publishers. With the advent of ChatGPT, it's so weird. I see one lady, she writes poems and she's invited to events with ChatGPT because, you know, that is old school with bound round, that kind of 6 stanzas, horrendous. There are hoardings promoting her. So now there will be books written by ChatGPT. So now by kilos, like it will be sold by tons. What is your take on ChatGPT and books and writing?
So ChatGPT is a great editor. Okay, so when the ChatGPT came, I said, okay, let me try ChatGPT, and I gave all the characters. So I create a 360-degree character. So I said Pooja is like this, Arush is like this, Sujit is like this, and I gave all the inputs. And I said write a dialogue between Pooja and Divya, and it generated such a horrible dialogue. I never. There was no grammatical error. Grammatically, it was perfect. But so soulless. There's no life. Okay, there's no life. There's some standard silly phrases which I would never write that way because my books are full of life. So I discarded it. Then another time I said generate a plot. I said, okay, let me see what it does. Okay. And it married the mother to the son. That's what it does. So ChatGPT, like, I think the people who publish this person must be not very intelligent if they think that, because I feel you can easily see through it. And if the readers are buying that, then I feel okay, they deserve that. Then let them be happy with that. Honestly, like, because you can't do anything. ChatGPT is here, but ChatGPT is an excellent editor. Once I write, if I put it into ChatGPT, more than what Word catches, ChatGPT would catch if you give it precise commands. Like, so I feel it's a good tool to have. No doubt it's a good tool. But it is very limited in what it's coming from your life experiences. And ChatGPT doesn't know what your emotions and what you go through, it doesn't know yet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I have to tell today, express my joy at listening, both of you all, the moderator and the author. Excellent. It has been a learning experience from the moment Swati Gautam has started speaking and from the moment you have started speaking. And it has, and you have spoken like, probably I'll go right now and buy all the 16 books. Yeah. Buy all the 16 books because you have spoken right from your heart.
Thank you so
And then
much.
telling about ChatGPT. I know exactly what she meant.
I think you all are gossiping. I'm out of the gossip. They're not telling me the name. I'm feeling left out of the gossip. Must be someone.
Yeah, we go through this FOMO, but then we'll email it to you. So it has been wonderful. I just wanted to express my thanks. All the questions have been handled beautifully, and you have answered them very expressively. And so it is a big round of applause and thank you to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, fascinating session. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I'm Esha Datta, SAS woman of Kolkata, and I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to Preeti Shenoy and conversationalist Swati Gautam for this very, very fascinating and interesting conversation. I thank our associate Taj Bengal and media partner My Kolkata and our patrons Sri Cements Limited. And of course, thank you to our wonderful audience for this very engaging and interactive session. Your time and presence made this truly special. Now, as you all know, the Prabha Khaitan Foundation promotes cross-state cultural identities to foster unity of rich cultural heritage across India's diverse states. So today we are pleased to felicitate the author with a giveaway made in our beautiful Dokra. Dokra is a non-ferrous metal and it's beautifully molded by artisans to craft artifacts, accessories, utensils, jewelry. The name is derived from our tribe of West Bengal. It's an ancient bell metal craft and it's practiced in Bengal. I would now like to request Jeetu Rampuria to felicitate Preeti Shenoy and Swati Gautam.
पहचान है बादलों बेचारों से खुशी की फुहारों से काहे जाने तू अनजान है हर दिन पग चल दूर है जाता जाने कहाँ तू जाएगा गोल है धरती और इस पर जो खोजेगा वो पाएगा सांस भरेगा लंबी तो तू चैन मुफ्त में पाएगा घर आने से डर जाने को बना नहीं था तू आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं आओ जी मेरे देश मेरे गांव मेरी धूप मेरी छाँव से मिलाऊं